Okay. So, welcome all. So, this course is digital speech processing. So, I will take this course in 20 hours, that means that half 20 hours lectures, and this course mainly designed for speech part, not that soft computing and that part. So, this course you do not expect that I will talk about that HMM or I can talk about the deep learning, those things I will not cover in this course. This course mainly I covered the scientific or the scientific aspects of the speech and how those speech can be digitized, what kind of digital setup we should use, how do you locate the different kind of speech signal in that recording. So, all kinds of those things will be taught in this course. So, if you see the course coverage, the course coverage mainly covered, if you see, all are on the aspects of the speech signal aspects, not that the aspects of soft computing and developing a system, that kind of things. But yes, at the end of the course I should cover some of the portions, some of the important speech processing application like that TTS, ASR. Many people are talking about the TTS and ASR, but I am believing that okay, not only the TTS, ASR, there is other kinds of speech application also, like that second language acquisition, action conversion, all kinds of things. So, those will discuss, I will discuss at the end of the course, that whatever the speech processing we have done entire course, what is the main application of those kind of information in this course. So, what I expect from the every learner, that not that cover the course, from the learner's perspective, as a learner of the course of digital speech processing, at the end of the whole course you should able to do following this course objective. What are the course objective? First is categorize and label the different speech sound for a given speech signal based on the spectrographic view and time domain speech view. So, not all those things are written in the slides. I can say something on this here also. So, you see that categorize and label the different speech sound for a given speech signal based on the spectrographic view or time domain signal view. So, what I expect from the learner, that once I completed the course, the learner should able to do, or learner should able to categorize. Suppose I give you a speech signal and I told you to record a speech signal, let your name, you record your name, you should able to record that that speech in a computer, using a computer. Then using some you can say that open source softwares, there are many speech processing softwares which are available. Using those software you should able to view the spectrogram and time domain signal and label the different speech signal point. So, for example, suppose I say the label that a consonant to vowel or stop consonant to vowel transition. So, those things you will learn here. How do I label which is stop consonant, what is look like in speech domain, and what is the transitory part, what is content. So, those things you learn this course, and you should able to use that knowledge for a labeling the speech signal for a given or of a given speech signal. Whatever I said that you can. So, in examination also, sometimes I give you a spectrogram and told you that identify the words based on the manner of articulation of the speech. So, I can expect that you should develop a skill, not that theory, what is stop consonant, what is articulatory place of that velar, that palatal, not all kind of things, but given a speech signal I should able to categorize and label the speech signal. Next one, explain the psychoacoustics and psychoacoustics, or you can say the psychoacoustics properties of speech perception and speech production. That is not that much of skill oriented things, but yes, you should know what is the how the speech is produced and how the speech is perceived. So, there is a lot of problem I will solve using the speech perception and speech production. Next one is, suppose You know that this is a speech production mechanism, that here the speech is produced using the vocal cords and there is a tube. You should have experience with that. If you see the flute, I can using the flute and pressing the different hole, and I can create the different kind of sounds. So, how a human being can produce different kinds of sound using this vocal tract. So, this is a tube and there is a vocal cords which is vibrate and create the sound. If you see the sanai, or if you see there is a membrane things in the beginning, and there is a long, you can see there is a long tube to produce the different kind of sound. So, using the uniform tube model, speech sound production and implementation of it using the signal processing you should able to do. So, I should explain how to model that this human vocal cords and how it should be implemented using the digital signal processing techniques. So, some part of digital signal processing I will cover, but that I am assuming that you should know the basic part of digital signal processing. So, using those principles, I should able to implement that human vocal tract, so that uniform tube model, and I mathematically model also. Next one, extract the fundamental frequency or different kind of speech parameters. Why I require? If you see, what is the purpose of this course? If I say ask you what is the purpose of studying the digital speech processing? There is a subject, but what is the purpose? If you see today in modern scenario, or you can say 21st century, there is a lot of research in speech domain. Why? Because if you think the human speech is the main communication media. Let us say, I take you the scenario, even a person doesn't know the, or you can say the literate, you can say that he does not know the script, he does not know the grammar, but he can speak. Effectively he can speak. So, I can say the speech is the common natural mode of communication among the human being. Even speech is the sound is the communication among that any live things, or you can think about that also. So, but if you see consider the human being, speech is the most, you can say the most easiest, or you can every people use the speech mode communication or most natural communication medium. So, what scientist want? Scientist want, can machine will act like a human being. Today there is a lot of artificial intelligence, lot of soft computing, lots of human intelligence we talk about. Now, scientists are trying to develop that, can I develop an algorithm, or can I develop an systems by which a human being can talk to a machine. Think about that application. Suppose you go to the railway stations to buy a ticket. So, instead of giving instruction to the machine by dialing 1, 2, 3, if you want this, dial 1, dial 2 kind of things, you can replace with the kiosk with the speech mode. I want to buy a ticket for Kharagpur to Howrah. I just told to the computer, computer give me the ticket, and then computer, how much money? The computer gives this much, this amount of money, give you the money, done. Lot of this kind of spontaneous communication is required. Another, if you think there is a lot of other aspects, speech communication, think about the security, biometry. Speech can be used for one of the biometry for the human being. That is why the speaker verification, speaker recognition, human voice identity, all kinds of business are going on, because speech carries the speaker biometry, because every speaker produces the speech to communicate the information. During the production, he imposes some signature of that person also. So, that kind of things is going on. Similarly, other communication, think about the pure communication thing, forget about this kind of technology, that human communication, telephone. I want to send a voice from one point to another point. Okay. Now, how can I today, if you see that today is that IP based communication, I want that, okay, this channel cost is so high, so can I reduce the channel cost, reduce the bandwidth. So, all kind of things we want to do. So, that is called speech coding. How do I develop an efficient algorithm so that with a minimum cost I can transfer a signal, speech signal from here to here in a real time situation. So, I want some kind of algorithm or compression kind of things which can compress my speech and transfer that things. Think about that your CD, audio CD, think music CD, or you can say that vocalist, that song CD. Earlier a CD can contain 7 to 10 songs if it is stored in original format. Now think about MP3, a compression technique, speech coding compression technique. MP3, I can compress 160 songs in single CD. So, speech coding is also another aspect. So, while I doing the speech based any kinds of application, the first thing is that I have to know the speech. What are the scientific aspects of the speech? After recording, how it is behave like that. So, all kinds of things we have to know. So, the course aim is not to deal with that soft computing or those things, deal with that what is speech, how it is produced, which features I should exploit to develop the speech based application, which features carries what kind of information, how the human being produce the speech, how the human being perceive the speech, all kinds of things will be covered. So, in this course I will cover the extraction of different speech parameters. Details I will discuss during the speech parameter extraction. What do you mean by parameter and what kind of parameter you think is suitable. So, those kind of things we will discuss. There is a signal processing algorithm, we use those algorithm. Why we use this algorithm is very important. Do not read anything which is just this has written, I have read it, I copied it and give the exam, not this. Why this is important is very important. As an engineer or as a scientist, you should know why I am doing this thing. So, different kind of speech parameter extraction I will explain. This parameter extraction algorithms are available in the book. If you I have referred to books, you know that, and you can go to those books, that all kinds of algorithm are explained. But in the class, what I explained, that why we are doing this kind of parameter, what is the advantage, what is the disadvantage, well, those kind of things I will cover in this class. So, at the end of the course, you should be able to write the algorithm for find out the different kind of speech parameter. That is my expectation. Then extraction of the spectral time domain parameter, speech signal, those things, then design of simple TTS and ASR system I will cover, and I will cover some part of the prosody modeling, because today prosody modeling is one of the important aspects in speech processing class. If you see, there is a lot of work is going on speech prosody. There is a lot of segmental speech work is done. If you see the TTS, most of the TTS are even if Indian language, I have developed one TTS in Indian language using different method, I will explain that also, but it is not as like natural as human being. So, what we are missing is that speech prosody. So, today if you heard any speech scientist, any speech lab, if you go there, lot of people are working on speech prosody. How, what do you mean by speech prosody? And there is a different application also, speech prosody. Suppose I give you one example that I have seen, that this is a very important, maybe very important research problem also. Think about that. Since I am dealing, I am part of a Center for Education Technology. So, I have seen many lecture video which are recorded, and even if foreign lecture video also I have seen which are recorded. But if you find there is a difficulty of understanding of the speech of different language speaker, even all speakers are saying in the same, let us English language. Suppose a Japanese people is giving a lecture on English language and a Chinese people also giving a lecture on English language, and I am sitting there, but I am not understanding fully his English, his or her English, because it is come with the Japanese accent, all kind of, because if it is not the first language of English is not first language of the Japanese speaker. Suppose I am seeing a lectures of our North Indian people or our South Indian people, their English is little different from the Bengali English. Even my English, may not be 100% understand, or 100% you can say the intelligibility of that English is not that good. If you suppose you are a speaker of American English, when you listen this English, you said this intelligibility of the speech is not that good. Now think, can I make a device? I am saying in Bengali English and it convert to let us American English, American accented English. So, intelligibility of the speech is increased. Think about, I have developed a systems and I emboss the system in here. So, when you download the lectures and when you listen the English, accent of the English is converted as per your preference. So, that kind of, I am not saying that language transformation, somebody is giving a lecture in English, I am listening in Bengali, I am not saying speech to speech conversion, I am saying simple accent conversion, that I am speaking in a Bengali accented speech, some American speaker listening it in an American accented speech. Same things, an American speaker giving a lectures in American accented language, I want to listen in Bengali accented language. So, those kind of tremendous kind of applications. Second language acquisition also there is some application of speech kind of things. So, even if speech research, I'll told that the ASR, lot of people are doing research in ASR, automatic speech recognition, and if you are aware about that, there is a HMM model, hidden Markov toolkit model, where people are saying that now people are saying that this model is not sufficient for those language whose resource is very less, resource constant language. So, what kind of alternative speech technology I can develop which is use the speech science, so that I can think about new kind of model, like that exploitation of speech prosody in ASR is a much more, you can say, the serious research which is going on by different people, different group of people are doing it. So, those kind of lot of speech applications are, you can say, the think about in your mind, and you have to develop some expertise or some skill on speech itself, so that you can think about what kind of algorithm or technology or subcomputing algorithm I have to use to do this kind of things. So, this part so if you see my course outcome or course objective, I have never written the subcomputing part. So, I am not covering on that part. So, that part may be covered in the other subject. Okay. Now, since it is introduction class, let us talk about that how human being produce speech. Okay. So, there is suppose I am giving lectures, I am producing the speech. What kind of activity is going on in my body to production of this kind of speech? So, if you see the slides, you can close look in the slides also, the slides will be shared to you, that what is happening once I want to speak, some message formulation is happening in our mind. And so, what is happening? If I want to speak a sentence, what I want to say, that is created, that is come from our mind, and that is called message planning. Once the message planning done, then it goes to the language model. What kind of language code we should use? If it is Bengali, then the words will be selected. If it is English, some other words will be selected. And based on the linguistic, that is called linguistic information, linguistic coding, it will come to neuromuscular action. So, that coding has to be executed by a human vocal cord. So, different kind of muscle has to be activities involved. So, muscle command, that is neuromuscular action command will be generated, and that command will goes to the this whole function body, and this has a two part, one is called source and one is called muscular action or acoustic system, and to produce the different kind of speech. So, message planning, then the linguistics part. So, if I explain this one in a block diagram basis, so message planning, that is the rule of grammar, what kind of word I should say, which is verb, this is unknowingly, without grammar I can produce the speech. So, grammar is not important to generate the message planning. The person who does not know the language, he can also speak in the same language. So, this is, although it is a rule of grammar, it is automatic. So, grammar is not primary criteria, grammar is discovered by us to explain the phenomena of what message planning is going on. So, message planning, which is lexical, syntactic, semantic and pragmatic. Then come to the rule of prosody, utterance planning. How I produce the speech? I can produce this very excited manner, I can produce a very low manner, I may be very sad. So, those kind of prosody planning will come here, utterance planning. Then motor command will be generated and speech production system is produce the speech. If you see in message planning, lexical, syntactic, semantic, pragmatic. Then if you see the utterance planning, paralinguistic, intention, attitude, stylistic, every human being has a different kind of speech styles. Then non-linguistic parameters also there, which is common the motor and utterance planning also. If you see the physiological problem also there, somebody has a very thick vocal cords and very I can say the short kind of things. So, he can produce a very voice which is very the fundamental frequency is very low, and somebody has a different kind of style of speaking, somebody has a stammering problem. So, all are come from here, motor command generation, that planning, and then the speech is produced. So, once the speech is produced, this is radiated either from the mouth or from the nose. Once I have produced the sound using this vocal cord, if you see there is a velum inside it, details I will discuss, and either the velum will be closed or open. If velum is closed, some part of sound will come to the nasal cavity, and or if the oral cavity is completely closed, so it will come to the nasal cavity. If it is nasal cavity is completely closed, it will come to the oral cavity. So, it is radiated. So, acoustics which is generated in here, it is radiated from our mouth or nose cavity and propagated in a acoustics wave. That is why this is called speech acoustics and important. So, speech is produced by a human being. So, the acoustics wave is travel in the medium. You know that acoustic wave cannot travel without the medium. So, acoustics wave come in the medium and transmitted. Now, once the acoustic wave is transmitted, a listeners who present to listen that voice, the acoustic wave strike is in ear system. So, hearing system is there. So, the acoustic wave is there. So, now from there the acoustic wave has to be converted to the again neural signal. Then again neural signal has to be fire the language code, and language code, from the language code brain decipher the intended meaning or intended message of the speaker. So, listeners is again try to find out what the speaker want to communicate. Okay. Now, if you see this is the process, but this process you can say there is a lot of optimization is possible. Means that human being has a tradition that in biological system we always conserve the energy. So, suppose I am speaking to some students, and once I see his face gesture, or once I realize he is tuned with the same topic, lot of message planning done which is very short, or you can say that the planning complete message or complete linguistically complete message is not required to transmit to the listeners. So, it may not be a linguistically correct sentence or linguistically correct words or whole words I have not spoken, but listeners understand. So, once the listeners understand, speaker will say that okay, my purpose is complete, so I do not want to produce the whole sentence. So, this kind of vulnerability, that how this optimization is, how this can be tackled in speech science, that is also important aspects. So, this is the speech production and perception mechanism of the human being. The details I will cover in the following lectures. Now, if I think about the engineering aspects, so a human being, so if I see the engineering aspects, that person speaking in the speech, or you can say that I have generated the acoustic wave from my mouth. Now, suppose this acoustic wave I want to transmit from this point to this point, and these 2 points are far away where this acoustic signal cannot reach here. Have you understand? Suppose I am speaking in this room, okay, the persons who are sitting in this room can be audible, but suppose you are sitting in your home, you want to listen the same acoustics wave. So, I have to take the help of technology. So, what kind of technology? So, I have spoken the speaker is radiated the speech in acoustic wave. Now, I have to use the communication technology, which is electrical communication technology. So, somehow I have to convert this speech acoustical wave to an electrical signal and transmit the electrical signal, and this side I have to convert the electrical signal to the acoustics wave. So, that is why conversion from acoustic wave to the electrical signal is microphone, and conversion from the electrical signal to the acoustic wave is the loudspeaker. Okay. So, this is the mechanism. I can say that I can transmit the speech from one point to another point. So, now I can deal with this electrical signal, whatever the coding, technology, all kinds of things I can do with this. That is why I say it is digital speech processing. I am not saying that the speech processing in analog domain. I said digital speech processing. Once I take this electrical signal in digital domain, what kind of processing we should use so that we can develop different kind of technology. So, if you see this slide, the source of information is the speaker, human speaker, then measurement or observation. This acoustic waveform has to be converted to the you can say the acoustic waveform has taken and observation has been done, then the signal representation has to be done, signal processing, then again human listeners, I have to model the human listeners. So, that okay. Now, if you see that technology, I want to replace this speaker. So, I say the message planning to acoustic wave generation, that has to be done by a machine. So, I can say it is text or idea to acoustics wave. Here I want a machine which can convert that the signal which is coming here or acoustics wave to understanding of the speaker's message. So, this kind it is not sir, I do not say it is automatic speech, not only recognition, here understanding also is a part. Here also this speaker modeling is not that he just read a text. Once we talk, we do not read the text, we understand the text and generate that text using a acoustics wave. So, lot of things are there, I will discuss on that those things. So, those kind of technology. So, either technology should be here, technology should be here or technology should be here. So, all kinds of speech technology we have to develop. To develop those kind of technology, we should know what is speech and how it is produced. Okay. Now, if you see, so speech processing is involved different, you can say the dimension or you can say the different discipline to work in speech processing. So, if you say the language communication, so different kind of dimension. So, speech processing involves algorithm, it is psychoacoustic, room acoustic, speech production, acoustics part, then information theory part, phonetics part, signal processing part, statistical signal processing, entropy, all kind of multidisciplinary action has been involved in developing the speech technology. Okay. So, some of the discipline I will cover, not all the discipline I will cover. So, some of the discipline I will cover mainly focused on acoustics part of the speech and phonetics, acoustics and phonetics and signal processing part of the speech. Okay. So, thank you. So, next lectures I will discuss how to record the speech, because before you go to anything on speech processing, you should know how do I record my speech and how do I see it in my laptops or computers, so that whatever I say you can play with it. Because I said that it is not a theory type of class that okay, I read this class and read this definition and give the exam, not this. Developed and skill. After seeing the speech, I can able to say okay, this probably the voice signal and it is coming from this region. So, those kind of expertise I want. Okay. Thank you.